I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead end. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done.
All right, what's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday night. Post-game recap happening right now with the Titans and the Falcons just wrapped up a few minutes ago. The second preseason game of the year for Tennessee has concluded. One to go next week. And the Titans won. The Titans beat the Falcons, if you care about that sort of thing in the preseason. The Titans won the game. So, thumbs up there. There were some things to like. There were some things that I didn't like. As I said in the title of the post-game recap and in the little caption on the thumbnail, some of the ghosts of the Titans past seem to be haunting them tonight. And I know it's a preseason game. I'm not saying let's freak out. But it's hard not to see certain things happen, even in a preseason game, and say, I recognize that. I recognize that because I saw it last year. Some of those things happened tonight. There were things that I saw in this game that made me go, yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing that last year. Hope we don't make a habit of that again, such as special teams. Special teams, penalties tonight. That was happening again. Every time we had a kickoff return, there was a penalty. Every time we had a punt return, there was a penalty. Missed a field goal. I'm very worried about our punter and our kicker. I'm worried about both. Neither one of them look great. But let's just get into all of it. Let's start with the offense. With Cam Ward, that's where you have to start. He was 2 of 7 for 42 yards. And so you can just get ready for it. This week, a bunch of people that did not watch the game that are going to read his stat line are going to try to act like they know because they read his stat line, and his stat line is 2 of 7. But I have seen so many people on social media and other podcast and YouTube channels who are saying, and I agree with, Cam Ward actually in some ways was better tonight than he was against Tampa Bay last week. I know last week he had more completions, he had more yards, it was flashier, he had the chunk plays to Ridley last week. But honestly, also last week you had the throwaway against Tampa Bay that really wasn't a throwaway. It was actually an irresponsible throw because it could have been picked off. Then you had the near interception against Tampa Bay. He really didn't put the ball in harm's way tonight. So in that way, he was actually better tonight than he was last week. Obviously, you had the first play to Io Manor. So no Calvin Ridley, no Tyler Lockett tonight. And I was actually glad to hear that they weren't playing because I've been saying all week, we've got to have somebody other than Calvin Ridley step up and be that guy for Cam Ward. It can't just be Ridley. We've got to have somebody else. And so let's take Ridley out. Let's see if one of these young wide receivers can step up. And they definitely gave Io Manor his chance to do that. And sometimes he came through and sometimes I felt like he didn't. You had the first completion with Cam to Io Manor for 35 yards. That was a beautiful play. I loved that play for numerous reasons. Number one, it looked like Atlanta, and I haven't really watched the play back, but it looked like Atlanta ran a stunt inside, and J.C. Latham picked up James Pierce, who was a first-round pick for Atlanta this year, that they traded up to get. Latham picked him up and carried him down beautifully. It made Cam escape the pocket to the right, which, again, last week, all he had to do was just drop back and stand there and wait for somebody to get open. But because of the stunt that Atlanta was running on their defensive line and because James Pierce came down so hard, he got carried right into the quarterback because that's where Latham had to take him, and Latham did a good job doing that, and that meant Cam has to roll out to his right. But he comfortably rolled out, kept his eyes downfield, found Io Manor, who had tremendous yards after catch on that play. That play, that's a thing of beauty. That's what you want to see more of, right? And then you get into some of the stuff that I didn't like. You guys are already talking about it like crazy. The throw to Van Jefferson. Well, first of all, you had a penalty. You had a holding penalty, which I think was on Khalil Mullings. Penalties, another ghost from last year's past. The Titans had a lot of penalties last season that ruined drives. They had 2nd and 3, and it turned into 2nd and 13 because of a holding call. That's kind of stuff that killed them in the regular season last year, and it killed that drive tonight. But what really killed that drive was Cam's beautiful throw to Van Jefferson. Let's just talk about the throw first. The throw, I think, was Cam Ward's best throw that we've seen from him so far. In a limited sample size, the throw was tremendous. Over the top of like 3 different defenders, right where it needed to be, the velocity on the ball, the speed with which he got. It was a great throw by Cam Ward that Van Jefferson dropped. And I said this on X, on the Two Tone Talk X. At some point you wonder, is Van Jefferson a lock to make this roster? I mean, he's probably going to make it, but is he a lock? I mean, what is he? I mean, I hate to be this guy, but like, what has Van Jefferson done since he got here? I mean, last week you had an incomplete pass to him that looked like a miscommunication where he wasn't where Cam thought he was going to be. Like, tonight he drops Cam's best pass that we've seen from him yet. He hasn't done much of anything. So Do I feel like he's going to make the 53? Probably. But, I mean, if you're Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, why not give Restrepo a chance? Give somebody else a chance. Or, I mean, I'm telling you right now, this sounds awful, but there's got to be if you want to go veteran, if you feel like you need a veteran receiver, there's got to be a veteran wide receiver sitting at home on their couch right now that could have caught that pass from Cam Ward. I don't know, but Van Jefferson, he dropped a beautiful pass from Cam Ward. And then we get to 3rd and 13, where I think we saw a play call that, again, a ghost from the past last year. Brian Callahan had some boneheaded play calls at times last year that left you scratching your head. 3rd and 13 on the Titans' first offensive drive was one of those. A screen to, I think it was Chimere Dike's, who they were trying to get the ball to, wasn't open, wasn't anywhere near being able. And now here's what I think happened. It was 3rd and 13. I don't think Dan Moore had gotten injured yet. But either way, it was 3rd and 13, and I think that Brian Callahan thought Atlanta was going to blitz, and he didn't want Cam Ward getting hit. And so he wanted to do something to get rid of the ball quick and do kind of a surrender play. And so he tried to do the screen. I will say this. If you're going to do a screen, Cam Ward cannot be side-arming the screen. If you're going to do a screen, he cannot try to do this little number, because that could have been a fumble. Like, if this were regular season, I think they would have investigated that a little more, because I think that could have been a fumble. So it's just, yes, I hate the play call. If the idea is that it's 3rd and forever and you know they may blitz and you don't want your quarterback taking an unnecessary hit, just run a draw. Run a draw and see if Khalil Mullings or something can make something happen, and then if you pick up a few yards and you punt, whatever. But yeah, that play call was a ghost from the past. Cam played 2 more possessions after that. We're still talking about Cam Ward. I mean, the second possession they tried a little screen to Chimere Dike. Some people didn't like that call. This is the second one. I didn't hate it because they want to see what they've got in these young rookie wide receivers. You're trying to get the ball to Chimere Dike, who is a fast guy in space. I don't hate the idea of doing that. What else happened on that drive? I mean, I don't even remember. I don't even remember what else happened on that drive. I just know they punted. I'm pretty sure they punted, and then the last drive was Cam's extra drive. And I think that Cam on his last drive probably had his worst throw of the night on the 1st and 10, trying to throw it to Alec Manor on what looked like an out route. Just threw it high, but it was blanketed coverage. So, I mean, tough throw anyway. And so he threw it high and out of bounds. I think if there's any throw from tonight that Cam Ward probably wishes he could have back, that would have been it. And then he had the completion to Bryce Oliver to set up 3rd and 1. And here's where I have an even bigger play call, a problem with the play call. He gets the completion to Bryce Oliver, sets up 3rd and 1. I know you want to get your rookie quarterback some looks, but you want to know what really would have got him some looks? If you just try to hand it off and get the first down, get the yard and get a first down, and then he can get plenty of looks because we have a new set of downs. But instead, we try to throw it deep to Alec Manor. Now, I thought that could have been pass interference on Atlanta on the last incompletion to Manor. I thought in a regular season game, they might have called that pass interference. I also thought, yes, a slight overthrow, but kind of thought Alec Manor could have helped his quarterback out a little bit. I'm not trying to take the blame off of Cam. He overthrew it a little bit, sailed it a little, but I also thought Manor could have, I hate to compare it to like a Traylon Burks type thing where there were so many times where you just felt like Burks could have gone up for a ball. Io Manor I'd have to watch it again. But one thing I do think is that if Io Manor would have gotten a hand up, you would have been more likely to get the pass interference call because he didn't put the hand up, from what I remember, it's easier for them to not call it. So I thought Cam Ward, the stat line from tonight is not indicative of how he played. 2 of 7, and the 2 were the big completion to Io Manor and then the one to Bryce Oliver to set up 3rd and 1. And then, I thought that the throw that Van Jefferson dropped was his best throw of that we've seen from him so far in a game. Now, looking at the rest of the offense, some of you guys are already wanting to talk about defense and special teams. We'll get to that. But continuing to look at the offense, Brandon Allen better tonight than he was last week. He did have the terrible interception when he first got in. But the one thing you can say about Brandon Allen that he did a better job of tonight than he did last week, at least he gave the young wide receivers and tight ends that he was in there with a good look. He was able to at least get them some good time in the game, whereas last week it kind of felt like those wide receivers that were in there with him and Boyle just didn't have a chance to really do anything. And the throw to Gunnar Helm, who I will get to in a second for a touchdown, that's a good throw by Brandon Allen. So I thought that he was better. Still terrible interception, but he was better. He is who he is. I mean, he's Brandon Allen. He's been doing this forever. And then Trevor Siemian, I'm not going to spend too long talking about backup quarterbacks, but Trevor Siemian is considerably better than Tim Boyle. He's only been on the team 3 days. Trevor Siemian, I will say, he's Trevor Siemian. Again, kind of like Brandon Allen. Like, we know who he is. He's been doing this forever. Trevor Siemian is considerably better than Tim Boyle. So, there you go. Those are the quarterbacks. Running back-wise, didn't really feel like, Julius Chestnut didn't do very much tonight. I still like Kalel Mullings. I think there's really something there with Tajay being hurt and being out for a little bit. I think that could help him. Kalel Mullings maybe have an elevated role. He's my first choice to be the third running back behind Pollard and Spears. I like Kalel Mullings, and I thought he did some good stuff tonight. I wish he would have had an opportunity to do more stuff on that 3rd and 1 where he could have gotten a first down, and then Cam would have had more reps on that last drive. Mims, who got in the game late, Jordan Mims, some of you are already talking about. 12 rushes, 50 yards. He did some good stuff. I think that could be a good practice squad running back there that, could turn into something. But he did some good stuff when he got in there in the second half. Maybe a guy you hadn't heard much about or even thought about. But I thought Mims played pretty well when he got in tonight. Now, to the wide receivers. I already talked about, without Ridley and Lockett especially in there, it was an opportunity for somebody else to step up. Io Manor, you saw some of the good and the bad. You saw the big 35-yard completion. Io Manor had a couple of completions after Brandon Allen got in the game. Chimere Dike, it just feels like they're having a hard time getting him the ball. And I will say Chimere Dike on the incompletion, this was on the second drive. It was like 3rd and 13 again. That's another ghost from the past. Getting behind the chains and having 3rd and forever. That was ghost of Callahan's past last year happening again in real time tonight. Not freaking out because it's a preseason game, but I'm just seeing things I recognize from before. 3rd and 13, and it was an incomplete pass from Ward to DK. I don't know all the details. We will see film breakdowns over the next couple of days, but I feel like there was a communication error because there is no way that Chimere Dike ran that route at the right depth, because even if he had caught it, he was 2 yards shy of the first down. So there's no way that he ran that route correctly. And it kind of looked like Cam was expecting him to continue running, and he didn't. And he just kind of stopped, and so the ball was out in front of him. I think that just kind of echoes what I've been saying. Cam obviously has the connection with Calvin, the 3 C's, the Cam-Calvin connection. He obviously has that with Calvin. But does he have it with anybody else? Every report we hear from practice is about how great Cam and Calvin look together. And while I'm thankful for that, because we are paying Calvin Ridley a lot of money, I'm glad to see Cam and Calvin having that connection. That's great. But somebody else is going to have to establish a connection with Cam too. And we've got a few weeks. I'm not saying, like, I do agree with what Will just said in the chat when he said this team doesn't look ready to open the season. They don't. Thankfully, they're not opening the season, but in a few weeks they are. So, and against a pretty darn good defense, by the way, in Denver. And that one's for real. Like, that's the best 11 they got versus the best 11 we got. So somebody else, wide receiver-wise, is going to have to emerge. Or tight end. We're about to talk about tight ends. Somebody else is going to have to emerge and be another guy that Cam Ward can rely on, because it ain't going to be Van Jefferson right now. If you're Cam Ward, would you trust Van Jefferson? These rookies are who you need to be looking at. And I'm going to throw Bryce Oliver in there too. Alec Iomanor, Chimere Dike, Bryce Oliver, any of you guys. Any of you guys, as John Cena would say, if you want some, somebody in the chat finish it. I'm going to let somebody in the chat finish the phrase that John Cena would say. If you want some, I'm going to wait for one of y'all to finish it. But any of those guys that have the chance, come on. It's open season. Nate got it in the chat. If you want some, come get some. Come on. A lot of y'all are saying it now. So, one of those guys, at least one of them, you can't just be Cam and Calvin. Number one, because God forbid Calvin gets hurt. That could happen. It could happen to anybody. Or if they're double teaming Calvin and somebody else got to step up. I mean, we saw tonight. Cam's having a little more trouble getting on the same page with some of these other receivers. It's not the end of the world, especially with the young guys. They're all rookies. But, all right, we're a few weeks now. We're a few weeks from the season. Let's go. Chris in the Super Chat said, I would take Restrepo over Jefferson. I feel Duncan looks better than last year at that tackle spot. We're going to talk about offensive line here in a second, but I do agree. Well, we're talking about wide receivers right now, so let's talk about Restrepo. At this point, I don't think Restrepo is going to make the roster. I don't think they have big plans for him. Once again, he didn't get into the game until very late. He did some good things. The one catch was really nice late in the game. I think it may have been Simeon he was in there with. Made a nice play to make a guy miss. And you know, like we said Monday when Tyler was on, he's a gamer. And I would like to see him get a chance in this final preseason game to get in there with Ward. I'd like to see it, but I don't think we're going to see it. I don't think it's going to happen. But, you know, it doesn't seem like Restrepo making the 53-man roster is in the cards. Would he have caught that pass that Van Jefferson dropped? I'd like to see him get a shot too, but it doesn't look like we're going to get that. So, I don't know. But I thought Xavier Restrepo, he got more playing time tonight, did a couple of good things. I hope we can get him on the practice squad, but I would be shocked if he ends up making the 53-man roster. I just would be shocked. Again, wide receivers, I mean, Bryce Oliver had the one catch. Really nothing else to really talk about there. James Prochet had some nice catches with Brandon Allen. And, you know, well, we'll get to special teams later. This mind-boggling special team stuff tonight, like I said, goes from the past. Tight ends. Gunnar Helm, I'm excited about him. I don't know how you couldn't be excited about him, seeing the catch he made between two defenders in the end zone, going up to get it, using his size, making a tough catch. I don't care if it's second stringers, third stringers. That's a tough catch, and I think the Titans are excited about him, and I think that would be a good guy to emerge as a big-time target for Cam Ward. Give me Gunnar Helm. Come on. Let's go, big man. Chigakonkwo, obviously, they're going to use him like a wide receiver as well. I think that Okonkwo and Helm are going to be their two main tight ends, but you got to take somebody else. And I don't know at this point. I mean, Josh Wiley got in the game a little earlier tonight than he did last week, but he's still, I mean, I just don't think, I feel like he's fallen down the ranks a little bit. We'll see. David Martin Robinson got in the game for him, so I don't know. But either way, I think Chig and Helm are going to be the two main tight ends. Let's talk about the offensive line. Dan Moore got banged up tonight. I hope he's okay. It's a guy that they signed and we're really excited about because of his durability. They're paying him at least $50 million. Don't need him being hurt. I expect he will not play in the final preseason game just as a precaution. Didn't look like it was anything too serious. I mean, he walked off on his own power, but I don't like to see the $50 million left tackle walking off hurt in the second preseason game. Peter Skoronski was in there. J.C. Latham, who I thought played well. Now, again, ghost from the past. J.C. Latham with a false start. That's how they ended up in second and forever on that second drive, is because J.C. Latham with a false start. And why? Was it because the stadium was too loud? There was like 17 people in the stadium. There was hardly anybody there. And we were coming out of a timeout. And J.C. Latham had a false start. That's the kind of crap that the Titans were doing last year. And they weren't good enough to be able to overcome those kinds of mistakes. And let me just tell you, they're not going to be good enough this year to do it either. You cannot expect to even win 5 or 6 games if you are shooting yourself in the foot by pre-snap penalties, special teams penalties, special teams blunders, miscommunications, turnovers. You're not going to be able to survive it if you're this Titans team on this roster, because they're so young. You can't make those mistakes. And those are the ghosts from the past that I'm talking about. Just come on now. Come on. I like J.C. Latham. I'm excited about him, and I thought he played well tonight. But stuff like that is what will kill this team if they don't get it under control, because it helped kill them last year. They asked who's going to be the number 2 wide receiver week 1. I mean, the smart bet right now would be Tyler Lockett, just because he's a veteran. But it needs to be Alec Iomanor. They need one of those guys to step up and do it eventually. All right, defensively. I mean, there were some things that I was really happy to see tonight. I thought Femi Oladejo was better. I thought he showed more. Particularly, there was one play for Femi. He was on the left end, and the Falcons ran away from him, and you saw that burst as Femi got down the line, made the tackle on the other side of the field. That was a play where you saw the athletic ability. I mean, the speed, the burst to get down the line to make it across the field to make the tackle. Good stuff from Femi. So it's going to be a work in progress with him. It's going to be a work in progress, and he's probably not going to start the season, but if you can help him grow into a good edge rusher or a good defensive end over the course of the season, that's the goal. It's not going to happen right away, but I thought there was a lot more to like about his game tonight than there was last week. Staying on the defensive line, I mean, the interior defensive line depth is awful. After Simmons and Sweat, I mean, if either one of those two guys gets hurt, we are in a tough spot. I did think that James Lynch, I believe was his name, had a really nice play tonight where he powered through a block to make a tackle in the backfield. But, I mean, after Simmons and Sweat, the interior defensive line depth is tough. The Titans blitzed once tonight, and they got home, and that's where I'll shift to the inside linebackers. I thought Cedric Gray played well tonight, guys. I know everybody assumed that James Williams had locked up that other linebacker position, but Cedric Gray tonight said, I got something to say about this. I thought Cedric Gray played well. I thought Cedric Gray, he had a sack, had an interception that was called back for a penalty. Again, Titans, penalties, can't have it. But I thought Cedric Gray made a good case tonight, if not to be a starting linebacker, to heavily be in the rotation. But I will say I thought James Williams played well too, and that's good to see. That's one of the most encouraging things from tonight, to see those two young linebackers playing well, because, like I said, up beside Cody Barton, it's open auditions for that other linebacker spot. So it's good to see both of those guys playing well tonight. Secondary, I didn't really hear Jarvis Brownlee's name at all tonight, so I guess that's probably a good thing. They didn't throw at him. The secondary, I mean, Marcus Harris did some okay things once he got in there. And then Kendall Brooks with the pick six. I mean, here's the thing. The secondary, after those first three of Snead, assuming he ever comes back, Snead, Brownlee, and McCreary, you need some depth. And Kendall Brooks, maybe. I mean, Kendall Brooks made a nice play tonight. He also I think he got hurt later in the game maybe, but I think he's okay. Good pick six for him. Love to see a good pick six. We missed the extra point, dear Lord. But good to see the pick six. Maybe Kendall Brooks can find a spot. I mean, listen, once you get past those first three corners, I mean, take your pick. Because, I mean, I'm assuming Darrell Baker will make it just because he was on the team last year, veteran player in terms of compared to the other guys. But, I mean, Marcus Harris, Darrell Baker, I mean, one of those guys, I mean, come on. Other than that, I mean, listen, Atlanta, I don't feel like Atlanta had hardly any of their starters in on offense tonight. So, I mean, the Titans defense probably looked a little better than they did against Tampa Bay, I guess. Atlanta was horrible. Their offense, whoever was in there, was horrible. I mean, they were committing penalties like crazy. So they ended up in like 3rd and 25 3 or 4 different times. So it's preseason football, and it was ugly preseason football, but I guess the defense was a little better as a whole than they were last week against Kyle Trask. No Simmons or Sweat, of course, and they need to hope T'Vondre Sweat is able to get into the game this upcoming week because, I mean, Jeff can do whatever he wants, but T'Vondre Sweat, he's only going into his second year. I mean, like, he needs some reps, right? That's kind of all I've got defensively. Just really hard to tell too much by tonight, but the number one thing I'm encouraged by, better play by Femi Oladejo, and then good play by both of the young linebackers, Cedric Gray and James Williams. And then we get to special teams. I mean, Joey Sly misses the extra point. Awful. Johnny Hecker is just not doing a great job as the punter. There's penalties on special teams. There's blunders all over the place on special teams. And that's a ghost from the past trying to haunt us. New coach, new special teams coach. It just, here's the thing. I'm still concerned about Brian Callahan. And to be fair, I came in concerned about Brian Callahan. So there's really nothing that they were going to be able to do in the preseason to soothe those worries for me. But it does make me kind of get a little antsy when I see them doing some of the same things in the preseason games that I saw them doing last year that made them so bad. I don't want to just totally repeat what I said about 5 minutes ago, but the Titans were not good enough last year to be able to overcome pre-snap penalties and turnovers and special teams blunders and all sorts of crazy crap. They weren't good enough to overcome it, and they're not going to be good enough to overcome it this year. So it just worries me a little bit when I see the same type of mistakes, even in a preseason game. But I hope it's just me being paranoid, and it may be. But I'm still worried about Brian Callahan. I do feel like the culture is better on the team. I think that, you know, the guys that they've brought in through the draft and free agency are high character leaders. I mean, you saw the clip from before the game of Cam giving the pep talk. I mean, he's good at that stuff. And but you know, he said this week he thinks he could have a top 5 receiving core in the league. They need to prove him not to be a liar. I mean, we all know, like, that's outrageous to say, but if he thinks that highly of them, they need to prove him right. And Van Jefferson did not prove him right tonight. Alec Manor, I still think on that last one, could have done a little more to help him out. He did not prove Cam right tonight. Chimere Dike looked like he didn't run the route the way that Cam thought he was. He didn't prove him right tonight. Is it the end of the world? No, it's preseason football, but he thinks highly of you guys. Somebody help the dude out and prove him right. Because right now, once you get past Calvin, it looks a mess on this receiving group, and it concerns me. But that being said, that's the post-game recap. Don't forget, Monday, 1 Eastern, noon Central, going to have another special episode as Mr. Titan is coming on. For the first time ever, Mr. Titan joins the pod, and we're going to continue to talk about what we saw tonight. We're going to talk about Cam and Calvin and the linebackers and everything coming up this Monday. You don't want to miss that. And then next week you got one more preseason game, and then the next time they take the field after that is for real in Denver. I hope they're prepared. I hope Callahan's prepared, because you ain't going to go beat Denver by committing pre-snap penalties and turning the ball over and missing field goals and whatever else. All right. That's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Appreciate you joining in on a late night post-game recap. Have a good weekend, everybody. God bless you. Tighten up. Bye.